And welcome into Half the Distance Live, your weekly Barroom commentary podcast. As always, I am Matty Fax, joined by the Professor, the Chair, Brian. We have the great Skunk Hunter, Pepe Le Peducer, and Up Greg over on the side. We are without Sconathan Staten today. He said he had to go do some work stuff that he had to leave for today. We think he's actually on his way to New Jersey to have a little word with the Giants about maybe why they should have kept Saquon Barkley. But we'll get a little further into that as we go. We are brought to you by our utter hatred and disregard for almost all NFL broadcasters. That's why we started doing this show.
Fuck Joe Buck.
Fuck Joe Buck. Put Erin Andrews in the booth. She's the best you got. Put her in the booth. All right. If you've never joined us before, we all have our favorite teams, our least favorite teams. If our favorite team in the NFL wins, we get to use our favorite team's koozie drinking throughout the show. Unfortunately for Mr. Staten and his little New York Giants man here, his Giants got the living shit kicked out of them by the Eagles today, so he's stuck with a Pats koozie. I'm a Bears fan. I get to enjoy my Bears koozie because they didn't play today.
Bye.
Hey, yeah, happens. The Broncos,
Woohoo!
they did win this week, so you get to use your Broncos koozie, Professor.
Yeah.
And for the great Skunk Hunter, the Titans pulled it out against the Bills pulled it out against the Titans.
It was not pretty. But
But they got the win.
Victory from the jaws of defeat.
Indeed. Okay, let's get into the games. Thursday night, the Denver Broncos traveled to New Orleans to take on the Saints.
Sean Payton revenge game.
Yeah, and it was one. This was not close. 33-10, the Broncos won. Bo Nix, 164 yards passing, 75 yards rushing. I did not know he had that kind of wheels coming into the NFL league.
I mean, for an old rookie, you know.
And he is. Javonte Williams, 88 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He finally showed up for the game. 3 catches, 23 yards. Troy Franklin, Bo Nix's college teammate, had 5 catches for 50 yards. And a guy who I just wanted to say his name because I remember a movie with the same name as his last name back in the early 80s that was kind of garbage, but I remember watching a lot as a kid. Lucas Kroll had 3 catches for 41 yards.
I know where you go with that.
And then also for the Broncos, Cody Barton, 8 tackles, 1 sack, and a touchdown. Pretty good, nice little defensive game for him. For the Saints, Spencer Rattler, 172 yards passing. They ended up bringing in Hayner, the backup quarterback, near the end of the game. He had 38 yards passing and 1 touchdown. Kendre Miller led them with 36 yards rushing, and that's because Alvin Kamara had 7 rushes for 10 yards to go along with 6 catches. So I'm sure he made up for that with yardage too, right? No? Oh, yeah, no. 14 yards on 6 catches. I don't even know how that's possible. Cedric Wilson, 6 catches for 57 yards, 1 touchdown, and Tipton, 6 catches for 45 yards. The Saints are bad. Especially,
really bad.
Carr is not a Hall of Famer by any stretch of the imagination. And not having Olave due to concussion hurts. Not having, wow.
Yep.
My name is fried. My mind is fried off from all day games. They're down their top 2 wide receivers due to injury. The Broncos this good or the Saints that bad?
Saints that bad.
Rashid Shaheed, sorry,
Shaheed,
out for a while on IR.
No, I mean, and even like when Olave was healthy and Carr was playing well, you know, well for Carr, you know, they were okay. But they needed Kamara to have just a beast of a game, like, to get those couple of wins.
Sure.
You know? The Broncos aren't bad. They're not good. They're exactly what I thought they would be this season. So I'm happy with that.
You know, lacking the 2 top wideouts and your starting quarterback, they don't have to respect the passing game
No,
at all.
They will beat anyone, and they will lose to the Panthers.
Yeah.
But you get the sentiment behind it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I do, and I think you're
Well, the
not
Broncos
wrong.
were missing their best corner as well.
Patrick Surtain.
So it didn't kind of, that was kind of an even matchup there, I guess.
I can't argue with that a bit. Okay, this morning in London, the Jags finally got another win. Beat the Patriots 32-16. For the Patriots, Drake May had 276 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 18 yards rushing. Big problem for their offense, they still can't run the ball. And against a Jags defense that is not very good, that is a bad problem because Ramondre Stevenson was their leading rusher with 18 yards. Hunter Henry had 8 catches for 92 yards. Jermichael Hasty had 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. For the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, 193 yards passing and a touchdown. But Tank Bigsby, 118 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Brian Thomas Jr. continues his excellent rookie campaign, 5 catches for 89 and a touchdown. Evan Ingram, second game back from injury, 5 catches for 35. And for the Jags, Devin Lloyd, 11 tackles and 1 sack. Nice little game for a linebacker.
That's pretty good, yeah.
The Pats are terrible.
Yes.
And I get it. Like, teams were like, okay, well, yeah, we'll let Drake May pass on us. We'll just stop the run. He can't do enough to actually win the game. But it's getting good experience for Drake May, and the Jaguars' pass defense is not good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I thought he looked good for a rookie in his second
today,
start. No
so,
picks, yeah. And for the Jags, it's a good thing they won. Otherwise, I think Doug Peterson would have been fired in a pub in London tonight.
I mean, if you're going to get fired, would you rather be in London or in Jacksonville? I'd rather get canned in London.
Tough call there. I will say I would rather have that happen in England. Yes, absolutely. But I do think he's on the hottest of seats. This team has got a lot of young players that we thought a lot higher of coming into the season.
And they
are underperforming.
With some of the other ones we've talked about, and some we're probably going to talk about later tonight, it's not the players. It's getting the players to play as a team. And so, I don't know. I mean, definitely, yes, on the hot seat.
I agree.
There's only so far, you're like, you know what? No, it is coaching,
Yeah, because a lot of these other teams that have losing records, like, they have a newer coach. Like, and so unless you're an idiot like the Panthers owner, why would you fire your head coach at this point in the season?
So,
yes, he is.
He also trades away every bit of talent that team ever gets.
Yep, but you know what? My Bears do appreciate it. The Titans traveled to Buffalo to attempt to take on the Bills. I guess the Bills finally got a little revenge for the Music City Miracle here. Oh. Bills win 34-10. I will say this for you Titans fans. If your team is going to start Mason Rudolph because Will Levis is hurt, the way to win a game is not to have Mason Rudolph throw 40 fucking passes. He is not a good quarterback. You do not want him doing this. Also, he threw it 40 times to get a grand total of 215 yards. He averaged 5 yards an attempt. That's garbage.
Which is fine if, yards after the catch was 5.
Yeah, right? Tony Pollard, 61 yards rushing. Funny story. There was a prop bet for Tony Pollard today to have over 64 yards rushing. He had 65 at the half, and he ended with 61, so that's got to suck. Not a whole lot going for the rest of the Titans. Tyler Boyd had 5 catches, 43 yards, and Chiga Conquo, 4 catches for 50. For the Bills, actually had, I believe, the highest passing yards on the day. Josh Allen, only one over 300, 323 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Ray Davis, 41 yards rushing a touchdown. James Cook, 32 yards rushing a touchdown. Keon Coleman, 4 catches, 125 yards, had a touchdown called back. Amari Cooper, 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown in his first game with the team. And Shakir had 7 catches for 65 yards. Also interesting, defensive player Russo for them, 6 quarterback hits today.
Oof.
Only half a sack, but you know what? Happen. You're getting there and you're speeding things up, and I'm sure Rudolph had eyes in the back of his head by the time it was over. So, I'll ask you Bills fans. Sign that you guys are definitely one of the top dogs in the East, or just playing a real shit team?
We're not one of the top dogs in the East.
We're not a shit team.
Well, I think we are going to run into Baltimore or Kansas City. I think we'll make the playoffs, but we are not a Super Bowl contending team.
Not right now.
I think Amari Cooper helps. Also, the fact that you were able to trade for him and only have to pay him the veterans minimum,
but
because of the way the Browns had done his.
But Greg is hopelessly optimistic, and I'm the come back down to earth person, and Greg is saying we're not a Super Bowl team. Like I think this is a intermittent year, and maybe Patrick Mahomes retires and we're back. but like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not.
Because it's just too easy to beat everyone else.
We're not scratching on the door. Yeah.
Okay. The Texans traveled to Green Bay, and this game was real ugly for the Texans. I mean, it was close, but this was not a barn burner for the Texans in any way, shape, or form. 24-22 Packers. C.J. Stroud had 86 yards passing. I never thought I'd see that number.
Nope. Worst ever. Yeah.
Joe Mixon, 115 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Dalton Schultz had 28 yards receiving, and Stephon Diggs, 5 catches for 23 yards. You heard that right. Less than 5 yards a catch. For the Packers, Jordan Love had 220 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs, 76 yards rushing, 5 catches for 16 and a touchdown. Romeo Dobbs, 8 catches for 94. Dontavian Wicks, 3 catches for 48 and a touchdown. Kraft, 3 catches for 33 yards and a touchdown. Eric Wilson, one of their safeties, had 6 tackles and 2 sacks. The Packers are looking good. And I realize that's kind of a very basic thing to say.
It was a very untimely turnover.
True.
That lost the Texans the game, basically. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Pack would be this good this year.
I did not either.
I thought, okay, well, Jordan Love, he really excelled at the end of last season. And he started off pretty good. I'm like, okay. Is this going to last? Yeah, I guess so, Like, that whole fucking division. Man, fuck you guys.
Yeah,
I feel bad for every fan of a team in that division.
Yeah, my team is 4-2 and in 3rd or 4th place. Yeah. Fantastic.
It's gonna be like that all season long.
I know, it's gonna be brutal. Yeah. The Eagles traveled to New Jersey to take on the Giants, and this was an ass whooping. 28-3 Eagles. Jalen Hurts only threw 14 times.
Didn't have to.
Had 114 yards passing and a touchdown. Saquon Barkley had 17 carries for 176 yards and a touchdown.
In like 3 quarters, right?
Yeah.
He didn't even play the 4th.
Kenneth Gainwell had 56 yards rushing. A.J. Brown, 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. Devonta Smith, and I only add this in because I started him in a fantasy league or two, had 1 catch for -2 yards. And Nakobe Dean, a linebacker for them, 11 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. For the Giants, Daniel Jones was 14 of 21 for 99 yards.
Oof.
Tracy, leading rusher, 6 carries for 23. Neighbors, 4 catches, 41 yards. Robinson, 6 catches, 23 yards. The Eagles had 8 sacks in this. 7 of them were against Daniel Jones. Now, when we were driving around today, we heard some fantasy guys say 28 attempts by Jones, and he was sacked on a quarter of them. They actually had it wrong. It was only 21 attempts, and he was sacked on a third of them. So
let's throw in Drew Lock.
Now they lost Andrew Thomas last week to a Liz Frank injury. He's out for the season. He is a stud left tackle for them. That hurts, but damn.
Fact or fiction? You were in a truck with Matt, who was in a sweaty T-shirt earlier today.
Context is important.
Some people are saying, not me.
We were moving my belongings to my new house. But thank you, sir. Back to the point here.
All right.
Well, somebody was hanging out by our back door the whole day.
What was Matt moving?
My furniture.
Yeah.
Anyway, Daniel Jones, this was not a good game, 99 yards passing. However, when you're under that kind of rush,
yeah,
what are you expected to do?
When you're on your back more than a porn star during an
NFL
game.
Get sweaty in a U-Haul with Brian.
There you go. So, yeah, Giants, rough day, but Saquon Barkley, he wanted some revenge.
Fuck,
they should have paid that man.
Fuck.
They really should have. And Daniel Jones, I hate to say that it's not all his fault, but he's definitely not the answer, I don't think. I guess
he is not the answer.
Things have to be so perfect for him to do really well that it's not sustainable. And that Giants general manager should lose his job. The Lions traveled to Minnesota for one of the most exciting games of the week. Jared Goff, and I only highlight this because I want to talk about how accurate these quarterbacks were today. Jared Goff, 22 of 25 for 280 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Sam Darnold, 22 of 27 for 259 yards, a touchdown and interception. That is really amazing to me, especially for Goff, given how good this Vikings defense has been playing.
Yeah.
Jameer Gibbs, 116 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns to go along with 4 catches for 44 yards. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 catches for 112 yards and a touchdown. Khalif Raymond, 3 catches for 39 yards. And I only bring this one up because I started him along with Devonta Smith in a couple of leagues. Jameson Williams, 1 catch for -4 yards. If you're paying attention, yes, I got less than 2 points from grand total from 2 wide receivers on my fantasy teams. I lost, if you didn't understand that. For the Vikings, Aaron Jones, 93 yards rushing and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, 7 catches, 81 yards and a touchdown. Naylor, 4 catches for 76 yards. And Jordan Addison, 3 catches for 66 yards. Now, I do think if the Lions had Hutchinson, who is out probably for the rest of the year.
Indefinitely, yeah.
This probably would have been a little better showing on their defensive side. However, you have to play the teams that are on the schedule, and they are playing against who you have out there.
And playing an undefeated team?
Yes, and they pulled out the victory still. despite David Montgomery trying to give the game away at the end with a fumble that was returned for a touchdown.
It happens. It happens.
It does.
Yep. And Goff brought him right back.
Are the Lions the cream of this division at this point?
I mean, after this game, I mean, it's still early, and it's rare for a team to go 8-0. So
In division, absolutely.
5-0. That was a great fucking start for the Vikings.
Absolutely.
Great, especially in this division. I can't wait for the next one.
I agree.
Oh, it's gonna be such a good rematch. Fuck.
Especially if they can, the rest of the team
If they're
can
all
stay healthy.
and-
Yes.
Yeah.
I really wish I could have seen this with Aiden Hutchinson playing, though. He is such a good pass
Yeah.
rusher and a dynamic defensive player. It would have been a lot of fun. One of the worst ass whoopings of the day, the Seahawks put it to the Falcons, 34-14.
Unexpected.
Geno Smith, 207 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Walker, 69 yards rushing and a touchdown. 2 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown, despite reports that he might have missed the game due to some illness. May not have affected me in any fantasy leagues, but it definitely got the professor here.
Yep.
DK
You're supposed to
Metcalf.
have the flu. I know it's his birthday, too.
He had a flu game, just like Jordan. DK Metcalf, 4 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. However, he was carted off the field during this game with a knee injury. Noah Fant, 4 catches for 65 yards. Tyler Lockett, 4 catches for 45 yards. And Derek Hall had a fumble return for a touchdown on a brutal sack that Cousins took. For the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, 232 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Bijan Robinson finally getting used properly. 103 yards rushing and a touchdown.
But
3 catches for 40 yards. Well, all right, for the last few weeks, he's finally getting the amount of
Yeah.
carries and touches he deserves. Kyle Pitts led them in receiving for today. 7 catches for 65 yards. Drake London had 6 for 63 and a touchdown. I don't know what to make of the Seahawks or the Falcons at this point. They've each had some very impressive wins and also some very unimpressive losses.
Yep. I think this one says more about the Falcons aren't ready than it does about the Seahawks. Like, this is what we saw the Seahawks doing at the beginning of last season.
True.
Before they fucking fell apart.
Before those injuries just decimated them.
So it's like maybe they're finally getting it back together. Whereas the Falcons were like you took Kirk Cousins and fucking revitalized him and your own franchise at the same time.
Absolutely.
And I feel like they just fucking fell apart today. I don't know why,
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks have some interesting pieces on defense, and if they start getting their everything down with the scheme and all the younger players fitting in, they might end up being pretty damn dangerous. And Geno Smith is a hell of an accurate passer when you give him some time.
Yeah. And if they can do what they did for a good 7-game stretch last year,
Absolutely.
I don't
know. The Bengals traveled to Cleveland. They won 21-14, which, and I could not believe it when I heard this, gave Joe Burrow his first ever win in Cleveland. That is shocking to
how
me.
is that
I believe
possible?
that. I believe that.
Yeah,
Well, Baker did good things, and then
that's true.
despite trying to sabotage themselves, the Browns did good things, and now we're Deshaun territory. But for 4 years,
Cleveland is nothing if not petty and being so close.
Yeah, that's fair. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 181 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown had 44 yards rushing. T. Higgins, 4 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 5 catches, 55 yards and a touchdown. For the Browns, Deshaun Watson was 15 of 17, not bad, for 128 yards, not good. And then what I can only imagine, based on what I saw, was a ruptured Achilles tendon the way he went down.
Snap.
So Dorian Thompson-Robinson, for some reason, was given the promotion to second string over Jameis Winston this week.
What do you mean, for some reason? Did you see Jameis a couple weeks ago?
No. But did you watch Dorian Thompson-Robinson today? Mm-mm. He was 11 of 24 for 82 yards and 2 interceptions.
Ooh.
He was even worse than Deshaun. So Jameis Winston got brought in, who was only 5 for 11, but was for 67 yards and a touchdown. He threw to David Njoku, who was 10 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. And while this may have been a loss, this is a happy moment I want to highlight. Nick Chubb made his return after that awful knee injury last year. 22 yards rushing, a touchdown. Good for him.
yeah.
Ooh, on 11 carries.
I know.
That's a lot of work for him
but
off the bat.
If you cannot pass the ball whatsoever, they're just going to load up to stop the run.
Yep.
I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but how much of an improvement is Jameis Winston over what we've seen from Deshaun Watson so far this year? Or is he?
The boys will be galvanized behind him compared to Deshaun.
I think so, too. I think they'll have a quarterback they actually want to play for.
Yeah. even if they lose in the same way they've been losing, it's you can back a guy who's a locker room guy much more than Deshaun, who is not.
Absolutely. It's just a shame he doesn't have a wide receiver like. If only they could trade for maybe like an Amari Cooper for him to throw the ball to. That would be such a wonderful thing for Jameis to
He
have.
suffered in Cleveland long enough.
Yes, he did. The last of the early games and the one that no one wanted to watch. The Dolphins played the Colts and they lost 10-16, and the Dolphins missed 2 field goals. Holy crap. Tyler Huntley was 7 of 13 for 87 yards and a touchdown before he got injured. And Tim Boyle came in and sucked and had 74 yards passing. I will say the Dolphins' running game was better today than I expected. Devon Achane, 77 yards rushing. Raheem Mostert, 50 yards rushing. And listen, they had a receiver that got 7 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. I bet you're going to say, Matt, was it Waddle? Was it Hill? No, it was Jonnu Smith. Of course it was. Who the fuck else would it be? I don't understand this team at all right now without Tua. I'm in shock at every week what's going on.
How is he the one holding the team together?
I have no fucking clue. Truly don't. And McDaniel needs to be careful because he's going to start coaching himself out of a job.
I think he's getting dangerously close to be one of those like surprising ones.
Like perhaps he should just be an offensive coordinator.
Maybe. No, because I mean that's half the fucking problem.
Well, yeah, there's no head coach to reel him in and say, stop calling these dumbass plays. For the Colts, Anthony Richardson, not a great game. 129 yards passing, 56 yards rushing. Goodson for the Colts had 52 yards rushing and a touchdown. Michael Pittman, 3 catches for 63 yards. Adonai Mitchell, 2 catches for 30 yards. I brought this up because I think this is a hell of a game. Grant Stewart, linebacker for the Colts, 19 tackles, 11 of them solo. That's a hell of a game by a linebacker.
That's bad. I mean, it's great for him.
Yeah.
But to have that many solo tackles.
Well, if they were funneling all the runs
bad,
right towards him with a defensive lineman, I still think it's a hell of a game.
I mean, yeah, that's great. But that's the defensive coordinator not doing any fucking changes. Like, oh, let's just keep trying this. Oh, it didn't work again, you know?
I'll agree there. Panthers fans, I feel like I talk shit on your team a lot.
Well, not as much as we could.
But I really could a lot more because the Commanders beat them 40-7 today. Very first possession for the Panthers was a pick 6 thrown by Andy Dalton. He had a total of 93 yards passing, 2 interceptions. Bryce Young did step in to play a little bit. He had -4 yards passing. So if you're doing the math, that's 89 yards passing total. Chuba Hubbard had 52 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. And Jatavian Sanders, of those 89 passing yards, had 6 catches for 61 yards. That means that there was 28 yards between the rest of the offense, which means that outside of Jatavian Sanders, the entirety of the Panthers' offense averaged 7 yards receiving per quarter.
Oof.
That is brutal. For the Commanders, Jaden Daniels got knocked out of this pretty early, only had 6 yards passing. But Marcus Mariota stepped in and played, again, against the Panthers' defense that is not that good.
But it's still Marcus
But it's still Marcus Mariota, and he's not very good either. 205 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson had 71 yards rushing and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin, 6 catches for 98, and Zach Ertz, 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. Marcus Mariota cannot carry this team.
No.
So Jaden Daniels needs to get healthy for them to be truly successful.
And he looked like maybe a bruised rib. Like he was back on the sideline.
You don't throw your helmet around if your rib is really screwed up. You're not bending and contorting that way.
And I get like the whole the sportsman in you, like you want to keep competing. And especially so early in the game, you're like, fuck.
Oh, absolutely!
Like I want to fucking this is my chance against the
Panthers.
Panthers.
Yeah, we could put up
to break
points.
rookie records.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, God damn it,
Are we rooting for Russell, or are we hoping for Justin to come back in?
I mean, as a Bears fan, I will root for Justin Fields to get a chance to play. But you know what? This is a perfect opportunity for Mike Tomlin to be like, guys, I gave him a shot. You see how bad he was against the Jets? And Justin Fields goes right back in.
Just give him good reasons, yeah.
And an AFC West versus NFC West competition, the Raiders lost to the Rams 15-20. Aiden O'Connell got hurt at the very beginning of this game, so Gardner Minshew stepped in and he played. He had 154 yards passing and 3 interceptions. Alexander Mattison had 92 yards rushing, 3 catches for 32 yards. Brock Bowers continues an excellent rookie year. 10 catches for 92 yards, and Trey Tucker had 3 catches for 36. For the Rams, Matt Stafford, 154 yards passing also, but only 1 interception.
Yeah, no tutties, though.
I know. Kyron Williams had 76 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, which puts him at, I believe, 9 straight games with a touchdown. Tyler Johnson,
Good for
4
him.
catches for 57 yards, and Tutu Atwell, 6 catches for 51 yards. I don't think it can be overstated how much the Rams really need to get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back on the
Yep.
field for this
Yep.
offense. Kyron Williams is carrying this offense right now, and Stafford, it's hard to really be upset. He has no wide receivers that are truly
Nope.
getting open for him.
Nope. And, like, I mean, Tutu is a great option when you have your starting 2.
Yes.
Like, he is not...
He's a great 3. Well, he's a good
3 and a
3.
half.
Good,
3
yeah.
and a half,
Good 4. He's a really good 4.
He's a good 4. He's a good 4, yeah. Like, he shines at those little 5-yard
Boy, if he was
dump-offs when it's
if he was the fifth wide receiver, it'd be awesome.
Oh, he'd be the greatest fit, you know? They have a 5th-man receiver option. In the
I know.
little award.
I do think that the Rams will do better once those 2 wide receivers come back, but they've got to get to that point.
They can't
Now,
be this bad. I mean, granted, those are 2 amazing people that you're missing.
Yes.
They can't be this bad without them, though. That's like, how are the Dolphins this bad without Tua? It doesn't fucking make
Especially
sense.
considering
you know?
how much time people have spent pointing out Tua's flaws
Yeah,
over the last
like,
couple
he's
years.
not a great quarterback, you know?
He's a highly paid one. I'll give him that.
His bank account is great.
yeah. He and Deshaun Watson must compare him. Like, do you see what they're paying us?
I don't think they talk to each other.
Yeah, I don't think a very religious man like Tua will want to have any
no.
conversation with Watson.
To his sister-in-law is a massage therapist.
Nice.
Allegedly, I have no idea.
Yeah. The Chiefs traveled to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. It is amazing how low the passing yardage was today. It is unreal. Patrick Mahomes, 154 yards passing, 2 interceptions, 39 yard rushing, and a truck stick on a safety to get the touchdown rushing. It was hilarious to watch.
Minus that last one, it sounds like a loss.
It
you know?
does. Kareem Hunt, 78 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. McCole Hardman, 2 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown. And Noah Gray, 4 catches for 66 yards. Oh, I'm sorry. McCole Hardman was 2 rushes for 38 yards and a touchdown.
Yes.
For the 49ers, this was ugly. Brock Purdy, 212 yards passing and 3 interceptions. Jordan Mason, 58 yards rushing. Kittle had a nice little game with 6 catches for 92 yards. Counting was their second leading receiver with 2 catches for 50. Unfortunately, Brandon Ayuk, knee injury, 2 catches, 23 yards, and they are stating that it is likely a torn ACL, which will end his season.
Yeah.
And that puts a huge damper on this 49ers team. I will say this, and it's only for fantasy players, really. This doesn't really help the 49ers in real life at all. But if Debo's playing and Kittle are playing now without Ayuk, game on to start them, because they're going to get a lot of passes thrown their way. But that is a huge loss for a 49ers team that really was trying to get back to the Super Bowl this year. And for the Chiefs, it's the most points they've scored that they've scored all season.
Yeah.
And their defense is playing phenomenal football.
Yeah, the defense is winning them games.
But this offense has almost no identity passing the ball. And granted, it hurt a lot when Patrick Mahomes took out Rashee Rice's knee so well.
Ouch.
But he did!
Ouch.
Terrible
Yeah,
injury
yeah.
he caused. So, Chiefs, until someone really beats them, they're the Super Bowl favorite
Yeah.
in my mind. The Ravens gave them everything they could handle. But other than that, the Chiefs are kind of rolling here.
I don't see them beating the Ravens again. Like their offense is not good.
No.
Like they're muscling their way to
Lamar
victories,
can't
which is
show up
what
in
the
the
only thing that
playoffs,
matters in the
though.
end. You know,
Lamar can't show up in the playoffs.
that's got to change at
Thus
some point.
Thus far.
So, see, now you can look at Kirk Cousins like, oh wait, he was amazing in prime time. Maybe I can do playoffs. You know, maybe.
Weirder things have happened.
Yeah, but this far, Lamar is not showing up in the playoffs.
All right, so that's all of today's games. Now, Sconathan Staten, a.k.a. Scotty Stats, may not be here with us in person, but he is here in spirit. And in doing so, he has sent along a very un-FL for the chair to
He
take
has
care
indeed.
of for this week.
I will try to do it justice. I am not nearly the college fan that Scotty is. And this is not even about college football. It's about college basketball,
Which he is
a
huge fan of.
And this I feel this one quite a bit. He's talking about Virginia's coach retiring just before the season starts. Been there
Weak.
for
Tony
20
Bennett.
years? Tony Bennett, yeah.
Yeah, 15.
15. It's a
Yeah.
long time, you
Yes.
know.
Wait, didn't he do an album with Lady Gaga?
So he did indeed. Yep. This is the not so creepy Tony Bennett.
Oh, okay. Not the one that looks like he's going to hit on
No,
your 17-year-old
No,
niece or some
yes.
shit.
And still somehow get her pregnant with his penetrating eyes, you know? But it's really sad, too, because he just signed an extension that would have put him as their coach through 2030. And just this week, he's like, you know what? I had a long talk with my wife, and we're talking about, you know, the way that college sports are going. And he said specifically, I think it's right for student athletes to receive revenue. Don't mistake me. The game in college athletics is not in a healthy spot. It's not. And there needs to be change, and it's not going to go back. So he regulates all the realities of, like, they should be making money. The way we're doing it now is not working, but there's no way to go back from this, and I don't think I can coach in this kind of atmosphere. There's no way I can recruit these players, and he talks specifically about his 2019 championship run, of, like, you know, these players that I developed for 3 or 4 years to get us to that point, and that doesn't happen anymore. And so you can really see, like, kind of like, and he was, like, kind of almost in tears giving this speech, and it's just like, I don't know what to do anymore. The sport that I know and loved for my entire career is no longer the sport that I know and love. I'm like, fuck. Like, how do you take that away from someone?
Well, he can go coach Division III, where it's going to be much lesser NIL, and
There's
he can
almost
develop
nobody.
those
Yeah.
teams.
I mean,
Also,
maybe, you know.
Saban said the same thing.
All right, well, fuck Saban, because I'm pretty sure he was paying his players anyway. Someone was.
Yeah.
But you...
Nothing against Alabama.
No.
I know Saban's a great coach.
But
Don't
Maddie,
get me wrong.
I think you can agree that college athletes deserve to get paid.
They absolutely do.
But there's a middle ground that has not been discovered that needs to be...
Do you want to know why I have a
uncovered,
problem with
if
a
that
coach
makes
saying
sense.
this, though? Because coaches, for the longest time, especially some of the corrupt ones, could do all kinds of heinous shit and get to the point where they had scholarships removed from teams. They couldn't play in postseason. And they could be like, oh, that sucks. I'm going to bounce to Kentucky now.
Yep.
And nothing could happen.
Like, no
the
penalty.
players, if they transferred, had to sit out a year.
Yep.
And they couldn't just jump ship immediately like these guys
Right,
did.
but-
So now that the players finally have some powers, and don't get me wrong, I get it. If you're a guy that likes to develop talent and wants those players to be around for 4 years, it is a different game. I get that. But I don't want to hear it's not in a good place. For the players, it's in the best place it's ever been.
But can you...
But I agree. There needs to be, I think there needs to be limitations. I think you should be able to transfer once without having to sit out a year. But after that, I'm sorry, you should have to sit out a year if you try to transfer a second time.
So all I'm trying to say is that the players should get paid, but, like, there needs to be some form of regulating how they are going to go about the transfer portal and
Checks and balances.
right. And so I think you would agree with that. Like, that's not an
That works well in our
notion.
democracy, huh?
Yeah. So, like, it's not crazy to say that a guy who committed to Kentucky, who then transferred to Tennessee, who then transfers to, Maryland, like, it's there's going to be some recourse for.
I think that if he had waited a couple years, I think the NCAA would course correct on this
He
and
can come back.
set things in place.
He's
and
not that old. Yeah.
He can. I think there will be some minor course corrections in this because, yes, as I said, I don't like the fact that players can just boom, 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 leave. Like, for example, it's football, but there was an offensive lineman who was at Alabama. He was offered money to go switch to another school, NIL money. So he did. Now it was money from a booster because that's legal. So he got it in the offseason. And then, right before the season started, transferred right back over to Alabama, money in his pocket,
there was no
with no
stipulations
legal
in it.
recourse saying he couldn't do that.
That's just a smart student.
That
Yep,
is very
yep.
smart. It's also shitty.
It is shitty, yep.
And it's the same type of thing that I think of with these coaches like Calipari that would run these programs so corruptly
Yep.
and then just bounce away without any fucking thing going bad against them.
Yep. You mean like buying houses for people's families and then threatening eviction if they enter the transfer portal?
Exactly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying that Tony Bennett was in any way ever doing that stuff, but you cannot talk one way about players doing shit and not come down like the hammers of hell on coaches that did that.
Yeah.
And then get upset when the players finally have some power, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Now, yes, they need to put things in place to control the unstoppable movement of players right now. There has to be some checks in there.
I think it's tough because anytime you inject real money, the loss of power is tremendous.
It is.
Tremendous. And I don't know the answer. Nobody does, you know? But I also don't think... I think if you transfer, after signing to a school, you have to sit out. First time. Every time. Because, once again, it makes you make a decision. And one thing that young people are shitty at is making decisions and realizing the consequences of those decisions.
But that's out the
college is
window.
where you learn that shit. You know, like, oh, I went to a party instead of fucking studying for a final. Oh, consequence, you know. Oh, I committed to Duke, and now I don't want to fucking go there because someone else is better than me is going to be starting instead of me. Consequences of your decisions. Like, you know, you fucked up, sorry, you know.
I agree.
Do your research.
I agree, but Eric's not wrong in this, in that as of now, there is no checks to this system.
No, at all.
So the
yeah.
NCAA is going to have to try to find some legal way to try to slow this down a little bit. And I'm not trying to take any power from the players. I think you should be able to get paid. I think that I have no
I
issue
agree.
with that
I agree.
whatsoever.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
They absolutely deserve to make money off of it, just like the colleges. And most importantly, the NCAA, that has nothing to do with education,
Yeah.
by the way, has been making billions
Yep.
off these kids.
I mean, just
And
video
also-
games alone.
Also,
you
the way
know?
these rules work, it's not even the NCAA paying them.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
This is a joke. The NCAA has always been a joke, and this is why no one respects it. They have to figure this out now, and I'm glad that their feet are being put to the fire to figure it out.
That part I like. Yes.
Right, but well, Maddie, I agree with everything you said, but it's also when a kid from Oregon can bump to Michigan, can bump to Ohio State, and it can bump to USC. Like it just the semantics need to be figured out.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
What is next on the NFL?
His next NFL segment is near and dear to my heart. It's about Kawhi Leonard, who may not even play this season for the Clippers.
Oh, my God.
He is currently predicted to be indefinitely out, which really, really sucks for the Clippers.
Especially without Paul George.
No, it's like, what are you going to do? I feel bad. And Scotty actually brought it up. He was like, you know, is he limping his way out of the Hall of Fame? And I think that's a valid question because, like, he came out and he was brought up with my team, the Spurs, and he developed into an amazing player.
Two-way player, too.
And then he wanted to leave. He wanted to do his own thing away from, like, you know, the pop system and those Spurs players. Like, I get it. And the team was like, yeah, I get it. The coach was like, I get it. Yeah. Went to Toronto. Yay! Happy ass fucking Toronto people. You know, it was like
For 1 year.
He was doing. Well, yeah, I mean, but you know,
Got that
to have
championship, though.
that's what I mean. You know. Yeah. So like for him to now do this and like when he went to the Clippers, like, oh, come on, really, like I didn't like you left my team. It was okay that you did, but I didn't like it. But then like to bounce around like this already, like every other fucking NBA player, and then to be continually hurt season after season after season and never match up to what you did before, like, oh, you might be limping your way out of the Hall of Fame.
And he was on the trajectory for a Hall of Fame career.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely was. Fantastic defensive and offensive player.
Yep. Like, again, both sides of the ball, like, and there's lots of people that do it, and he was definitely in those conversations. Anyone that started watching basketball within the last 5-6 years, they're like, who?
Yes.
Who? I'm like,
Well, we had to
Fuck,
look it up
you know?
because we're like, when was the last time we played a full season? 2019, 2020
the
COVID.
season.
was the last time he played a full year.
So technically not even a real full season.
No, because they had to shorten that because of COVID.
And you weren't playing in front of fans.
Oh.
You know? I was like, oh, fucking Kawhi.
Just
really?
a shame.
Really?
Just a shame because such a good career that he has started out having.
And he was such a talent. He was so good.
Absolutely.
Like, again, a defensive-minded player that does really well on offense. Love to see that. Love to see it. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He did have one more, just little one. It's just in the rumor mill. There's no way to verify this at this point. I've scoured X. I couldn't find a lot of information about it. But apparently Florida State University is suing to expand the college football playoff system. They believe it's unfair. They think it should be expanded to 128 teams. So they never miss the playoffs again.
Well, that's logical. If you're 22 years old, you're writing that disposition.
I just like that what he threw in there. It was great. Allegedly, you can't disprove it either.
That is just terrible. I do have one NFL thing I want to bring up.
Ooh.
I am a Bulls fan.
No.
It's okay.
Reinsdorf?
I know they're brutal. Lonzo Ball.
Oh.
Last played for us in 21-22. Played 35 games, had 13 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 5.1 assists a game. Hurt his knee. Had not played a single minute for us since. Until these last 2 preseason games, he finally got back on the court. On Wednesday, his first time on the court since then, 10 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. And then on Friday night, 16 minutes, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists.
It's 16 minutes. That's not bad.
Not bad. I do not. This is the last year of his contract. I do not think they will be re-signing him, given the injury history and the younger players they have on the team now. However, with all this, in those first 35 games, we were actually near the top of the Eastern Division. That team was looking really good. But here's my question for you guys: how old do you think Lonzo Ball is?
28?
26.
Let's say 26.
Nailed it on the head. 26 years old. That man hasn't played in almost 4
It's
years.
so sad.
And he's only 26 years old.
Because, like, he was all the chatter when he was fucking 16, you know?
Yeah.
Mainly because of his fucking dad, you know, being a douche. But he was fucking... You could not avoid that name.
No.
And it doesn't feel
And
like
he
it was
is a
that
good
long
player.
ago, but it sure as
When
fuck
on
was.
the floor, he is a good player. Now, he might not ever wow you with huge points, rebounds, or assists, but he will have a solid number of all 3. And he just runs the floor, the offense very well. He's a floor general.
You know, for him, I really hope, like, being out of the spotlight, where, like, you're like, oh, now Dad stopped caring about me. This is great. Because now he can come back and be like, you know what? I can play the way I want to play.
Just play for fun.
Without Dad fucking texting me all fucking during the game of where I fucked up at, which he used to do.
Absolutely.
And, like, maybe he's a great role player. What if he puts up 14 a game and helps the team win championships? How fucking great would that be for him, you know?
Absolutely. So that's our NFL. Do you have anything to add NFL-wise, guys?
No, I have streaks, though.
All right, Squeak Streaks. What was last week's
So
streak?
last week, he said that Geno Smith was going to throw for over 280 yards and a touchdown, which he didn't. And also in a loss, which he didn't.
That could have happened to anybody.
So he had 207 yards, and they won,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, so the Panthers have lost their last 4 games by over 2 scores.
Over 2 is being very generous.
Over 2 touchdowns. Let me correct
Still
that.
being over generous.
The last they played the Browns, that kept true. All right. So they're playing the Panthers this upcoming weekend. The last time they played the Panthers was in the Super Bowl, and they lost by over 2 scores. They're going to continue that streak.
Wait, who were the Panthers playing in the Super Bowl?
No, excuse me, the Browns. No.
The Panthers are playing the Broncos next week.
Yes, correct. They're playing the Broncos. They're going to lose
They
by
both
over
start
2.
with bro.
They're going to lose by over 2 scores to the Broncos, is my
Oh, well, I know that the professor likes that streak.
Yeah.
I got 2 things I'd like to bring up for just the worst.
All right.
Now, the first one, don't hear what I'm not saying with this first part.
You would have said that all night.
I know. I am not upset that Amari Cooper went to Buffalo. At all. I think it's a great thing for the team. I think it's a great thing for him. It's also a great thing for Josh Allen.
Yep.
But
What I find horrible about it is, at the beginning of the season, to try to help out their salary cap space, the Browns converted a big chunk of this year's pay for Amari Cooper to signing bonus. So it shifted what he was technically owed for this year for the salary cap hit. So when they traded him to Buffalo, the reason Buffalo could afford this with their salary cap constraints was because they're paying him the veteran minimum now. So you essentially got nothing for a player that wasn't even costing you money. I am totally baffled as to how any general manager still has a job in Cleveland, other than the fact that the owner is probably saying, you will ride out this god-awful contract you signed Deshaun Watson to at my request.
Yeah.
And I also heard the most amazing thing this week, and I think it was actually the podcast that Eric loves listening to, the Bears fan one. Pardon my take. I believe it was them, where they suggested that the Browns find a team with a lot of salary cap space and offer not just Deshaun Watson, but also the Browns' own first-round draft pick in order to get the team that they're trying to trade him to take him off of their salary. And I thought that was hilarious.
It's not worth it.
Absolutely not.
If they could somehow guarantee 2 years in a row first-round draft pick being a top 5, then maybe.
My other just the worst is Jerry Jones.
Oh, as always. But what did he
On
do
Monday,
now?
after that, and I admittedly embarrassing loss to the Lions
That's a great
on
game.
Jerry's
Such a
birthday,
great game.
he was on the radio show he's on every Monday because he loves him some spotlight and to get his Cowboys in the spotlight. And they asked him about how well the off season and the current season has been handled in his opinion, and he said, and this is a quote, "Listen, let me tell you what I'll do about it. I will let us sit down and look at the decisions we made over the last several years. Okay? I'll look at it. Now, if you think I'm interested on a damn phone call with you over the radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwasher, you got to be smoking something over there this morning. I'm not, and I really don't. And I don't even want our listeners listening to me talk about it. This is not your job. Your job isn't to let me go over the reasons that I did something, and I'm sorry that I did it. That's not your job. It's not your job, or I'll get somebody else to ask these questions, men. No, I'm not kidding."
What a dick.
So you go on this show
Weekly.
of your own free will,
Yeah.
and you're upset that they're not just tossing you some little lobs to knock out of the park after your team got beat down. And after you waited until the last minute to give CeeDee Lamb his extension, and the last minute to give Dak Prescott his extension, and it hamstrung you in getting any other players in, and then you're going to go after the guys that you go on their radio show every week and blast them like that? Number one, cowardly.
Yeah.
Absolutely cowardly. And number two, a pure sign to me that Jerry Jones either needs to stop being the general manager of the Cowboys and stop going out and being the public face, or grow a set and learn how to take some fucking criticism.
You know, it's never
because
gonna
that
happen.
was a bitch move that he pulled there.
Yep.
And I thought it was one of the worst things I heard this week.
Like, if you're in that kind of mood, you don't fucking call in.
Tell him you're busy.
Yeah.
Plead the fifth.
Say, like, listen, it was my birthday last night. I got drunk. I have a hangover. I don't want to be there.
And that
No,
wasn't
but
even a
he calls
specific
it on
question.
purpose. He calls it on purpose.
But that wasn't even a specific question accusing him of this one terrible decision.
It was a litany of terrible
It was
decisions.
like
every
look at these
question.
things. Like they didn't say, like, how can you keep letting go your best running backs every year and then bringing them back when they're fucking old and fat? They didn't
Right?
say that, you
No.
know?
They didn't say, "Hey, why'd you trade Amari Cooper and sign Gallup?" Gallup was coming off an ACL tear.
Yeah.
That made no sense. You could have kept Cooper and gotten rid of Gallup. Why'd you do that?
Like, why'd you wait so fucking long to re-sign CeeDee Lamb? You know, I was like,
So yeah, I'm sorry. That was the worst thing I heard this week. I was embarrassed for my friends that are Cowboys fans at the fact that he would actually go out there and act that way and just be belligerent towards sports reporters that are asking
He's
him
82.
legitimate questions. I thought it was awful.
I will say, like, all of my friends that are actually Cowboys fans, not just the we them boys when they have to be good towards the playoffs, none of them like Jerry Jones. I have never met an actual Cowboys fan that fucking likes the owner. Never, you know? No one's ever said, like, oh, he makes such great management decisions.
So that's my just the worst. Anybody else got a just the worst for this week?
Mine is actually Jerry Jones, because fuck that guy. That is just goddamn awful. But no, I don't have one, no. Because that's...
This is not a just the worst, but
This is the just the worst segment.
I know, but the toe tapping that Tom Brady's gonna have to do as a part owner of the Raiders, it's not a just the worst, but he's knee deep in the weeds, and he's not gonna do Jerry Jones things.
No, but he at least has a mind for football.
Yeah.
But
But, like-
at least maybe he'll stop broadcasting.
What I find interesting listening to him on the TV is that Tony Romo was not anywhere near as good of a quarterback as him. I think that anyone who would say that he was is an idiot. But
Yeah.
as far as a broadcaster goes, Tony Romo's far better. And I'm not saying Brady can't get better, but like Romo, he will tell you exactly what play is about to be called, and I know Brady has it in him to do that stuff.
And he's been doing it long enough. He didn't like hit the ground running like that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Brady not off to a great start.
I'm not impressed when I listen to him.
Okay.
But
I don't care.
But you're right. It is interesting that he has now rules that he can't talk trash about teams.
Yep, yep.
He's got to be very careful on air now.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Greg, you got any just the worst?
Yeah, Eric not understanding what's just the worst is.
I like it.
All right. Well, that brings us into the segment that you might be like, wait, what are you guys doing? You're predicting the games for next weekend before these games are even over? You're damn right we are. Because that's what we do. We half-ass everything and whole-ass nothing.
Yep, yep. Oh,
All
I
right.
do want to keep tallies. Before this week's games, as of the end of last week's games, Scotty's stats has 55 correct picks.
Not bad.
Maddie and I both have 53, and
Also
Eric, you
not
got
bad.
46. You got some work to do, man.
Yeah.
It's an early season.
I'm going to catch up tonight.
The story of his life.
All right. Let's start off Week 7's picks.
Thursday night game. Vikings go to the Rams.
Vikings.
Like, unless the Rams can pull off some amazing fucking shit, like,
If Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are both back, which they won't be,
which they will be.
it would have been a puncher's chance for the Rams.
Yep, yep.
As it is, Mr. Stats and I agree Vikings.
Yes, all around. First Sunday game. Cards go to Miami. Ooh, juicy.
Yeah.
Miami has looked terrible. There is rumors that Tua will be able to start practicing again soon. He's not going to be back playing. I'm going with the Cardinals, and Mr. Stats is going with the Cardinals also, according to
Yes,
his
he is,
picks he
yep.
gave.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that's
Oh, I fucked up and put down. Oh no, you had those ones. That's right. Yeah. Falcons at Buccaneers.
Woof.
And I picked the Bucks before the Falcons lost. That might change my pick. I don't know. I think that'll be a great fucking game. No, I'm still going with the Bucks.
The Bucks defense is not great. The Falcons will be able to score a lot of points.
Yeah, if they put up fucking 40 or
I'm sorry,
something like
the
that.
Cardinal. Yeah, no, it's the Falcons, right?
Falcons, yeah.
Yeah, the last time these two teams played, it was an amazing game.
I'm still going Bucks.
I think Eric's gonna go
Put me down for the Falcons.
Scotty Stats is going with the Bucks. I say the Falcons come back angry from this loss.
I hope they do. That'll make it an amazing game.
Absolutely.
If we have like a college football score.
Hell yeah,
Oh,
like the last
fuck
one.
yeah.
I would love that. It'll be like 3-0 now. Like what? Watch the wonderful game of soccer.
3-4.
that.
They went on a fourth quarter safety.
3-2.
The game that almost someone's going to watch unless you're a Baltimore fan. The Ravens go to Cleveland.
Baltimore.
Are you sure?
That's,
Are you sure?
that's Baltimore across the board.
The Packers get to win again. They go to Jacksonville. Oh, sorry. Did I say that in a way?
That is a gimme. That is a gimme.
Is anyone not
I
picking
hate
Green
picking
Bay?
the Packers, but there's no way I'm picking them to lose to the Jags.
Bro.
The Colts go to Texans.
I would have said this could have maybe been a game until the Texans lost today. Texans are going to be pissed. They're going to win, and Staten agrees with me.
All right. I am in the Texans as well. Jets.
what?
and- Texans.
You're in the Texans. Sir, this is a
In
family
for
show.
the Texans. I mean, my wife is a Texan, so yeah. I'm in
Hi-yo!
the Texans. Yeah. The Jets go to New England.
Jets.
Wow.
Any chance New England
Jets.
pulls this out?
No.
I don't think
No. Jets win across the board.
so. All right.
This is sad.
Eagles
Oh my.
Sorry.
Eagles at Bengals. Hopefully we stay on the air while someone spills
Yeah.
beer all over all the equipment.
The Eagles, such a weird
don't
season
care
so
about the
far
table.
for them. Very weird season for them so far. They have had such an up and down start.
Are we good?
But the Bengals also started off so slow and seem to be getting their act together. The passing game for the Eagles has not been that good, but the Bengals' defense sucks.
Saquon Barkley.
I'm going with the Eagles.
I'm going Eagles too. Yeah, I don't see how it doesn't happen.
Same.
But
Yeah.
Mr. Staten did not.
You wanna-
Really?
Wow.
Yes, he did.
Very interesting.
Yep.
All right.
No.
Next up, we have Tennessee visiting Detroit.
Put me down.
Well, the
for
Lions are
Detroit.
gonna run roughshod over them. I don't care if Aiden Hutchinson is out or
I
not.
don't think anything is gonna happen to that one. Bills and Seahawks.
Seahawks.
You're picking the Seahawks?
Yeah, the
Ouch.
Bills are-
That's your team,
The
man.
Bills are over the floor.
DK Metcalf out with a knee injury. I'm going Bills, and so is Mr. Staten.
All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna go Seahawks till you went against your own fucking team. Now I'm changing back to the Bills.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Saints at Chargers.
That's a tough one.
It really is. Like,
Mr. Staten went with the Chargers, but the Saints have looked god awful with Rattler at starting quarterback. The Chargers still have Herbert. They still have some Khalil Mack. They have some good players on that team. I don't see how the Chargers lose this game.
I think they could, but
I don't see it
I
happening.
don't see it happening.
Put me down for the Chargers.
All right.
It's football. Anything can happen.
Panthers at Denver.
Well, your Broncos are going to get a nice win by at least 2 touchdowns, according to
Yeah.
the Squeak Streaks. So we are all going with the Broncos, I'm pretty sure.
Do you want to pick against your streak?
No.
Bears and Commanders.
All right, I'll tell you right now that Staten, Mr. Staten, he picked the commies in this one. Jane Daniels got a little banged up today. If we can get a pass rush and hit him a few times, I think we can take
Hurt
him
them
out.
ribs again.
Yep. The Commanders' defense, previous to today's game against the Panthers, had not been playing that well so far. I think they're like the 26th or 27th best defense
And it
coming
was
into
the
the weekend.
Panthers, so yeah.
But their wins have not been against great teams either. Okay, like just like the Bears, like you play who's on your schedule. It is what it is.
Yep.
But I am picking the Bears. I think that Caleb Williams and the wide receivers are really starting to get on the same page, and I love our defense. I think they're really starting to play well.
Mr. Squeak.
Who do we got?
Bears at Commanders.
Oh, Commanders.
All right, I'm changing my pick to the Bears.
It's a good call.
Not just because I'm picking opposite of you for every other one, but you know.
Yeah.
Kansas City goes to Vegas.
I would love to say that I think Vegas has a good chance. They actually do play the Chiefs very tough.
I'm gonna pick Vegas because it'd be fun as shit if they beat
It
them.
would, but Minshew looks so bad this week, and that Chiefs defense is playing so well.
Yeah, but
And no Devontae Adams now. Brock Bowers is the number 1 target. He's going to get peppered with targets.
Which would make it even worse if they win.
Absolutely would. But I still think the Chiefs
This
are
is
gonna
my
win.
want-to victory
Chiefs, just because Chiefs are Chiefs.
because it's the Chiefs, yeah. And I'm sure Scotty's picking the Chiefs. You know what? I can't pick. No, fuck it. I'm
Just
staying
do
with
it.
Vegas. I'm staying with
Pick it.
Vegas.
It's fun.
Because if it happens, I'll be so
You'll get to
fucking
rub it in all of
fun.
our faces.
I wouldn't do that. I'd just be so fucking happy it did happen. Yeah.
That's
no,
fair.
rub it in their faces.
Cowboys and Niners.
Wow. The Niners did not look good today. Brandon
did
Ayuk
not.
being out hurts. However, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about the Cowboys defenders that are out right now. And they are missing big guns on the defensive
They had a
side.
bye, which definitely helps. but,
Yes.
man, I can't in good conscience pick the Cowboys over a decent team. I'm going Niners.
Niners.
You know, actually, this comes back to last week. What we would ask the question of: are the Cowboys a team that are only going to be beating the bad teams and losing to the good teams on their schedule? The 49ers, even with as bad as they were
They're
today,
technically
are
a
good
bad
team.
team.
49ers are a good team. They have a lot of depth. They have a lot of talent in a lot of places. Even Ayuk being out, you still have Debo Samuel
Don't they
probably
have a
being back.
losing record now?
I believe they do have a 3-4 record.
49ers? Really?
But-
Wow.
They are 3-4
I
now.
still think they're better than that record says.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that Debo Samuel comes back. I think George Kittle has a hell of a game, but it's going to be close. This is going to be like I would say this is like a 24-23 game. I think it's going to be because the Cowboys are embarrassed right now also. Unfortunately for them, the 49ers are also embarrassed. So it's going to be two angry teams that really want to win.
And the Cowboys had a week to forget about the embarrassment.
Yes, and I think the 49ers are going to be real fresh, and they're going to come out pissed.
Yeah, they're gonna be pissed if they lose to the Cowboys, who are everybody hates right now.
Like after that Kansas City one, yeah. I'm assuming Scotty picked Niners.
He did.
All right. And we get to watch that game Sunday night.
Nice.
And then we don't have to watch the Giants and the Steelers on Monday night.
No, we don't. Mr. Staten did pick the Giants to win that game.
Good for him.
My problem here is you did nothing to protect your quarterback today against the Eagles. And T.J. Watt and that Steelers defense is going to be coming for them.
And the backup came in for, 9 snaps and also
Yeah.
got sacked?
Yeah.
You know?
If you can't pass protect any better than that, I don't see them even moving the ball against Pittsburgh. So I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Yeah, same. Sorry, Scotty. I just don't see it. Yep.
Yeah, put me down for the Steelers.
All right.
Okay.
And only one Monday night game next week. Yep.
There you go. All right, so that is our picks for next week. Guys, any final thoughts on this week's games?
I wish I could have seen the Cowboys get their asses handed to them 2 weeks
Russell Wilson is not the answer, and yeah,
The game just started.
but I think we can agree.
They scored first.
Yeah,
But yeah, he is not the answer. Yeah.
I am hopeful that we start getting more passing yardage in some games.
Oh my God, the passing this week?
Only one 300-yard passing game, a lot of less than 200.
Most
and
under 200,
and a
yeah.
few less than 100.
When Bo Nix was
Dalton.
like the 5th highest?
Yeah, Dalton had 90. I mean, Stroud, 86 yards passing. Watson, 128. DTR,
Crazy.
82. Winston, 67. I guess if you total that up, it's over 200, but that's not still very impressive.
Combined, yeah.
None of the Dolphins quarterbacks got over 100 yards passing. Like, this was one of the weirdest. Daniel Jones, 99 yards passing. Like,
Oh, you're so close to 100. Oh.
this was a really brutal week for the passing game, especially. And I realize they're doing a lot of like too deep coverage to try to take away deep passes to try to cut down on the big plays. You know the NFL's hating that. They're already scheming some ways to make defensive changes to
Yeah.
allow the offense to score more. But at the same time, it's nice to see that defenses can actually have an impact on the game still.
Yeah.
So
I mean, heaven forbid they force them to run it once in a while.
Right.
You know?
Wait, running backs aren't that important. They don't pay them. All right, yeah, so that's kind of my thought. Is like hopefully we'll get a little more offense next week. I'd love to get more than 2 points out of my wide receivers on a couple of my fantasy
Yeah.
teams. That'd be great. But yeah, all right. So that is this week's show. Half the time of last week's show.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Does Scotty talk that much?
It's more me and him together.
Oh, okay. That's true, yeah.
Feed off each other and talk a lot.
You go quick.
No, because when you were gone,
I'm
it went much longer as well.
Oh, wow. Well, you know, sometimes the whole requires everyone to be here.
Oh, you know what? Neither one of us are drunk.
No, we're not.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And Eric spit half that last beer across the table, so. All right, we are Half the Distance live. Thank you very much for coming and checking out. Oh, I forgot to say, was anyone joining in the comments?
No, I checked,
All right.
yeah.
If you're enjoying the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast, and you have a chance next Sunday, we do live stream while we are recording this on YouTube. We'd love for you to come join in on the chat. We'd love to hear any thoughts, any questions you want to ask. We'd love to hear from y'all. Thoughts on what we're doing right or wrong? We'd love that. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that little follow, subscribe button. We'd love to have a little bit more ability to reach more people.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I am Matty Fax, joined by the Professor, the Great Skunk Hunter, Pepe Le Producer, and Up Greg, who is barely awake right now with the amount of hours he's having to pull between like 3 restaurants he's working at, but he's going to make it.
Hey, at least I didn't spit my beer over.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy all the football that's left and what's going to be coming next week. Quick side note. I am now fully back from vacation and now almost completely moved into my new house, which means I'll be back to doing Straight Backs Homie once a week.
Oh, yeah.
So
Party!
please look out for that on also on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. And listen, enjoy the football. Hopefully this game keeps on scoring because 7-3 is more than a few other games had in the first quarter today. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy the football, and we'll see y'all next weekend.